Hey, thank you for being again with me for another video. As you can see behind me, it's a bunk bed. That's just because I just moved in at college, so I'm kind of doing this now before my roommate comes back. And basically, well, our next topic today is fornication. And as we always do before, we always go through the Bible, just read off what it's talking about and what God says about that. And basically, fornication, if you don't know what that is, which I don't know how, is basically sex outside marriage. Doing things that are sexual that should be kept within the range of marriage. That's basically what fornication is. And that can be between a male, female, 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 male, male. But we're not getting into all that stuff. And so basically the Bible does condemn fornication. And I'm just gonna go through it with some verses to backtrack that. Alright. First verse is 1 Corinthians 6:18. Flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexual immoral person sins against his own body. And basically, what he's talking about there is God saying, flee from sexual immorality. Don't go towards it. Stay away from it. Like, if you know it's a party, for example, like parties. Well, I'm at ECU, surprisingly, and I know there's going to be parties, private home parties. Maybe if it's hosted by ECU, I'll understand, because I'll probably have guidelines. But a party hosted by a person you know is going to be sexual sin. I'm just going to not go to it. People could say you don't have to drink, you don't got to do that. Why go to that temptation? That's just one of the things I'm going through. And also just talking about that when we're sinning against our own body, which is of the Lord. That's another thing is talking about right here, is we're sinning against our own body. And another verse that talks about that, about fornication, is Mark 7:20-22, which says, and he said, what comes out of a person is what defiles him. For from within, out of the heart of man, comes evil thoughts, sexual immorality, and other sins are lived out, which is a completely different topic. But basically right there, that's saying that's stuff that defiles a person. Fornication, sexual immorality, that's stuff that defiles a person, and we need to stay away from that. And we need to flee from that. And that's what the Bible is talking about for this verse. We just got to stay away from that sexual sin, that sexual immorality. And we need to stay away from that. Basically because that's not what God intended. God intended for a relationship of sex to be held within marriage. Sex is beautiful, but when it's outside of marriage, it's completely not what God wants. It's completely the opposite. And yes, many Christians do debate this, surprisingly, because some people, well, I'm not even going to send them real Christians, but I know it's a lot of people that sometimes want to debate with me, like, it's our body, we should be appreciating it, it's called love. That's not wrong, but in marriage, it's okay. That's why I'm kind of going through this topic. And a few solutions we can do is like it said in verse 1 Corinthians 6:18, flee from it. Just flee. Stay away from it. If you know it's somewhere where you shouldn't be going, if you have a girlfriend, and I don't know why, but if she's not safe and she says my parents are gone, coming to my house, stay away from that. You know what's gonna happen. Or if you're just like hanging out with your girlfriend one day and you guys are alone in a house, don't do that. Stay away from it. Like, I'm smart enough to know in situations I'll be helpless, and that's why I've already decided I'm not going to no parties. I'm not trying to do extra stuff outside because I don't want to be involved in that, and I don't want to be looking stupid like, oh man, I messed up, when it was an easy way to get out of it. Like, yes, it is a temptation, don't get me wrong. It is a temptation, but we should try to flee from that and stay away from it. That's number one. Number two, it says we should try to get married. So it says in 1 Corinthians 7:2, Paul was basically talking to the people and he was saying, but because of the temptation of sexual immorality, because he knows we're going to be tempted, he said each man should have his own wife and each wife should have his own husband. Basically, to help flee from that temptation of wanting to fornicate, marry them. Don't sit there and just date them, marry them, come together so when you're doing it, you're at least doing it and that is something that pleases God. That's basically what he's saying right there. And another way you could is accountability. Like, if you're off somewhere like college, number one, if you're off in college and you feel you might be weak to those temptations of lust, sexual pleasure, you should probably have somebody hold you accountable. daily, weekly, monthly. I don't know how you want to do it, but have somebody hold you accountable saying, hey, how you doing? Do you need some prayer? Keep up with you? Because accountability, you do need accountability. Like, you can't just think to move from a sin without some accountability, because I don't trust myself if I know I'm struggling with a sin to handle that on my own. That's why I usually have people that keep me accountable. And I'm happy. I always ask them, I was like, hey, help me keep me accountable so I won't fall for those temptations. And I won't have a reason to want to tempt myself to sin. That's why I do that. And I just want to say that I thank you again for coming to another video. I know it was a little bit short. I kind of like to keep my videos like less than 10 minutes. And if you guys have any other questions for me, or if you have any requested topics, please, if you could, just talk to me in the comments. Thank you.